3 years ago, a quality manager named Anand walked into my office unannounced. He was from a large automotive tier 1, the kind of company with a supplier audit checklist longer than most vendors' entire quality manuals. He had driven 4 hours to reach us, no appointment, just a call from the highway saying he was 40 minutes away. I offered him tea. He declined and got straight to it. Rahul, I have had 3 forging vendors fail me in 18 months. All 3 were IATF certified. All 3 had quality manuals thicker than my arm. All 3 passed my desk audit, and all 3 sent me components that caused line stoppages. I am done with desk audits. I want to walk your floor from billet receipt to dispatch, and I want you to show me what exactly happens and not what your manual says happens. I stood up and said, let us start at the billet store. What followed was a 4-hour conversation that taught me something I knew but had never said so clearly. A quality certificate tells you what a vendor intended to build. A shop floor walk tells you what they actually built. Hello, I am Rahul Agarwal, Managing Director at Prestech Forgings and Engineering Private Limited, and I help procurement teams source forgings without costly mistakes. Let me explain why good-looking quality systems sometimes produce bad components. A quality system is a set of documented intentions. It says, when this happens, we will do this. Material arrives, we check hardness and verify the certificate. A forging comes off the press, we check these dimensions. The gap between what the system says and what actually happens on the floor is called implementation. And implementation is a people problem, not a paper problem. In most forging shops, the quality team is small and the production team is under pressure to hit the output. When quality rigor meets output pressure usually wins. Incoming checks get skipped when the line is waiting. Dimensional checks get sampled loosely during a backlog. Heat treatment records get filled in at the end of the shift instead of in real time. None of this shows up in a certificate. None of it shows up in a desk audit. It shows up in your components quietly, inconsistently, and always at the worst possible time. Anand had been burned 3 times not because he chose bad vendors, but because he chose vendors who were good at a point in time. He had no system for knowing when that point had passed. So, what should a serious forging vendor's quality process look like? From billet receipt to dispatch, and how do you evaluate it for real? Let me give you the 7 checkpoints I showed Anand. These are the 7 places where quality is either built into a component or quietly lost. 1. Billet receipt. Every billet should be checked against the mill certificate, grade, heat number, hardness, dimensions, and the check documented. Ask to see the incoming inspection register and confirm it is current, not filled in 3 weeks ago. 2. Billet cutting and weight control. Billet weight decides how well the die fills and how much flash forms. A vendor controlling weight within plus or minus 1 or 2% has a more consistent process than one cutting by eye. Ask what the weight tolerance is and how it is verified. 3. Furnace temperature. An underheated billet forges poorly and accelerates die wear. An overheated one loses surface quality. Ask whether furnace temperatures are logged automatically. Automatic time temperature logging is the standard you want. 4. First off inspection. Every time a die is set up, shift, start, die change. After any stoppage, the first part of the press must be fully checked before production continues. This is the single most important check in forging. Ask to see this week's first off records. If they are missing or incomplete, you have your answer. 5. In-process inspection. During a run, parts should be sampled at defined intervals, every 25 to 50 pieces, depending on criticality, against a defined set of dimensions. The plan should be documented, the results recorded, and there must be written response when a reading goes out of tolerance, not a verbal. Keep an eye on it. 6. Heat treatment verification. If your component is heat treated, the cycle must be verified, not just performed. Time, temperature, quench rate recorded for every batch. Hardness tested on samples from every load, not occasionally. Ask to see the records for the last 5 batches of a similar component. Thin records mean a thin process. 7. Final inspection and dispatch. Before anything ships, it should pass a final check against the drawing, dimension, surface marking, documentation. The lot should trace back to the production batch, the billet heat number, and the heat treatment record. If something goes wrong later, this traceability is what lets you find the cause fast and contain it. Anand walked through all 7 with me that day. At each one he asked questions and I showed him records. Real current records, not a curated selection pulled out of the audit. By the end of the 4 hours, he placed a development order for 2 components. Not because we were perfect, because he could see with his own eyes that we had intended to do what we actually did were the same thing. He is still a customer today. If you are planning a vendor audit and want a structured checklist of these 7 points, the questions to ask and the documents to request at each stage, send me a message and I will share it with you personally. And if you have ever sat in front of an impressive quality manual and still felt uncertain about what was happening on the floor, that uncertainty is not a weakness. It is a good instinct. Trust it. Thank you and see you in my next video.